The playoffs are here, and you know what that means. Lots of jerk moments to go around for everyone. Several fun and interesting actions to dissect here, as we take a look at a handful of less than savory actions from players around the league. Well, ones that made the postseason anyways. So obviously I decided to circle back in attempts to make this video a little more beefy. Cause I mean, the more the beef the better, right?
Gooey.
As in add in a couple crucial moments that were overlooked. And with that, here are the top 7 jerk moments of the 2021 NHL playoffs thus far. I mean, in all honesty, guys, is it really the NHL playoffs without Brad Marchand giving us a new jerk moment to talk about? Well, this one took place during Game 3 of the second round against the New York Islanders. And no, there wasn't tongue action, but rather some stick action, almost just as juicy. Anyways, after going at it a little back and forth with in the neutral zone, Marchand decided that the best course of action was to acquaint his stick blade with the forward space. And, as you would expect, the officials took notice and decided to give number 63 a couple minutes to think about his actions in the penalty box as he was dealt a 2-minute minor penalty for high sticking. So I think this one is proof that the postseason has the ability to, to get the best of a player's psyche, as every move and retaliation, it seems to be much more intense than before. And really, when you look at the Bruins, I mean, does David Krejci really come to mind as a player most likely to spear his opponent on purpose? For me, I'm thinking Brad Marchand, Charlie McAvoy, pretty much anyone except for Patrice Bergeron would be more likely. I mean, the guy, according to HockeyDB.com, has received Lady Bean votes after 3 different seasons, if that tells you anything. Regardless, it was during Game 4 that David Krejci finally snapped through the second period of play. As both teams were trying to free up the puck near the boards, Matt Barzal decided that he was going to cross-check the veteran multiple times. The contact went uncalled, and after one retaliatory shove from Krejci that was met with resistance by Barzal, number 46 decided to resort to, below-the-belt tactics by spearing Barzal where it hurts the most. After reviewing the penalty and changing their minds, as officials tend to do constantly this time of year, Krejci's actions resulted in only a minor penalty versus the major penalty that he was initially going to receive. Along with a 2-minute stay in the sim bin, he also was given a $5,000 fine as supplemental discipline. This hit that took place during the middle frame of play in the 2021 playoffs in Sin City, well, let's just say it was classless. As Ryan Suter was standing on watch net front, as the Vegas opposition approached, Reaves clearly had time to decipher that the direction of his hit would cause the defenseman to collide with the post. What makes it even worse on Reaves' part is the fact that he could be shown making sure that his stick acquainted itself with Suter's back as he was on his way to meet the post, making the impact obviously more painful for Suter. Despite the hit though, the officials decided that this was only deserving of a minor penalty for interference. The Florida-Tampa series that we were finally able to witness took place. I mean, for 2 teams that hadn't really had a fighting chance to get acquainted, I'd say they definitely did that throughout the 6-game series. But it was during the winding seconds of Game 5 that it got really interesting. I mean, after having his fun doing the chicken dance, Pat Maroon decided that he wasn't done trying to live rent-free in his opponent's heads, and humorously assumed the center position for a face-off with intent. So after winning probably his first and only center face-off of his career, Maroon proceeds to, take Noah Cherry by surprise by blatantly cross-checking him in the face with force. And this logically incensed Achari's teammates as a scrum ensued directly after. Maroon was ejected from the contest, but no supplemental discipline was dealt to the center. Winger. So after going at Ryan Suter in the previous series, Reaves decided that he was not done straddling the line as he decided to mix it up yet again in Game 1 of the next series. As Vegas was cycling the play in Colorado's zone, things quickly heated up between the 2 teams. After taking a shot at Philip Grubauer, Reaves' attention quickly fell on Ryan Graves. Geez, what is it with targeting all the Ryans, Ryan? Anyways, number 75 decided to give Graves multiple blatant headshots. And yeah, I know Graves was being a pest earlier in the game, but this obviously was a bit excessive. In result of the contact, Graves immediately fell to the ice and remained incapacitated for an extended length of time as a scrum ensued around him. Reaves, who left the contest after earning himself an intent to injure penalty, received supplemental discipline as well in the form of a 2-game suspension. An incident that may still be evident in our minds as hockey fans took place during the remaining seconds of Game 1 of Round 2 in Winnipeg. As the Montreal Canadiens were ready to put a bow on their win and call it a night, after an empty net goal from Jake Evans, all of the excitement quickly turned to concern. As Evans was tucking the puck in the net, Scheifele, who decides not to try to play the puck or prevent the goal, instead makes a decision to literally plow through his opponent in horrific fashion. As the force and the angle of the hit itself caused Evans to fall to the ice headfirst. After receiving head trauma, Evans laid motionless as Nikolai Ehlers made it a point to try and shield his opponent from the scrum ensuing, before he was stretchered off ice. Scheifele was immediately ejected from the contest and, as many were suspecting, had to also answer to player safety not long after. And due to the nature of the hit itself, which was deemed, quote, a high predatory hit delivered with excessive momentum gained from traveling a considerable distance, Scheifele received a 4-game suspension for his actions. Yes, it's the NHL playoffs, and yes, it's time for Nazem Kadri to do Nazem Kadri things. I feel like Kadri was the kid who constantly was burning his hand on the stove as a child, as in, he never learned from the consequences. As we've seen time and time again, he chooses to deliver premeditated, predatory hits on his opponents with little remorse. I mean, he tried to appeal the suspension, if that tells you anything. Anyways, during Game 2 of the first round, Kadri decided to take a run at Justin Falk for whatever reason, while launching his body into the defenseman in a questionable-like nature. So, those of you who might say, well, Alyssa, Scheifele's hit was worse, here's where I drew my conclusions, comparing the two. Yes, obviously I don't agree with the way Scheifele charged at Evans. He obviously knew the direction he was taking and should have made better judgment. But if you look at the actual principal point of contact and compare the two, Kadri made direct, undisputed contact with Falk's head. And it wasn't situational at all, meaning Kadri had tons of time and opportunity to make the impact less catastrophic for his opponent. But as we've seen time and time again, he didn't, which is probably why he was suspended for 8 games in the playoffs. I mean, when you get that many games in the postseason, well, you know you've done something to upset player safety. And as I alluded to, regardless of his attempts to appeal his sentence, the league stood its ground, on this one anyways,